talking was the sound of something shocking. Now heaven knows anything goes.
Wait, hold on. Anything goes? Isn't that what's been happening in America for some time now? I think more and more Americans are waking up to this absurdity, and it shows by the overwhelming response we're getting with new volunteers. We hear and see you believe COS is the solution, as big as the problem. So thank you, and let's keep growing this grassroots army. Our vision is to build a strong, engaged army of self-governing activists, and our mission statement is to restore self-governance by recruiting, training, and deploying citizen activists to engage in all levels of government. So, if you've had enough of anything goes, join us every Monday at 7 p.m. as our state director and host, Dale Parrish, will show you how we can actually make a difference by using the Constitution to save the Constitution and our country. So join us now for Indiana Live.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to COS Indiana Live. My name is Dale Parrish. I am the state director for Convention of States here in Indiana. Sorry, we had a little glitch in starting up there this evening. I don't know, we're getting some rain here where I'm located here in Indiana, and so might have been a little internet glitch, but hopefully we're back on track here and going well. So I'm hoping everything's coming to you as planned this evening. Once again, welcome to our broadcast this evening. We got a great broadcast lined up. And first of all, I want to definitely thank everyone for tuning in on our roundtable, which was held last Monday, the 27th of September. As you know, every fourth Monday of the month, we devote the entire COS Indiana Live broadcast to a roundtable format. Kind of similar to what we do every Monday evening, but expanded. So this last roundtable, we had a recorded interview with Senator Mike Braun, and went very well. So I think where the response was very well as far as viewers are concerned. So I want to thank you for tuning in to that. And just a reminder now, our next roundtable, again, fourth Monday of every month, the next roundtable will be October 25th. And our plan right now is to have Mark Meckler, the president, CEO of Convention of States, as our guest that evening. So we're working very, very hard to make that happen. And having Mark on as a guest is always a treat. He's always got a lot to talk about and really enjoys Q&A. So we plan on having a lot of questions ready for him. And of course, viewer questions will also be certainly welcome too. So that's our plan for October 25th. We haven't got it finalized quite yet, but we're working on it diligently. So you want to be sure and mark that on your calendar. Again, the fourth Monday of every month is dedicated totally to the roundtable meeting. All right. Just want to remind you again, this broadcast coming to you through our state Facebook page, but we're also live streaming through our YouTube channel, COS Indiana. So we'll be talking about that YouTube channel a little bit more later on in the broadcast this evening. If you are a viewer on our YouTube channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can become a subscriber to the YouTube channel. So you'll receive notices of any changes or additions to our YouTube channel. So hit the subscribe button, please. Our subscriptions, I will mention, are constantly growing every week. We are getting more and more viewers, and many of them, most of them, quite honestly, are coming to us through the YouTube channel. So very important outlet for us. Now, I've mentioned this before. I'll mention it one more time again. We are doing the audio portion of our broadcast in a podcast form. It's called COS Indiana Live Podcast. Basically, just the audio portion of our broadcast every Monday evening. So that can be, you can listen to us in the form of a podcast, which evidently there are a lot of people that actually prefer that method rather than tuning in to watch us live. Now, that podcast can be found at this address, anchor.fm/Dale-Parish and the number 8. That's anchor.fm/Dale-Parish and the number 8. So that's where you can find our podcast. Well, let me tell you just briefly what we have in store for you this evening. The first segment, we've had a little change in plans. It seems like that's kind of standard anymore with COVID and all sorts of things going on. People get sick or whatever. So we have to change plans from time to time. And sometimes we have to change them on the spur of the moment. But anyway, I know tonight we had some interviews lined up with a couple of our new region captains, as a matter of fact. Well, that didn't work out due to, actually, it was the death in the family of one of our region captains. So anyway, scrambled around, and what we're going to do tonight in the interview segment is I'm going to bring on Paul Phillips, our legislative liaison, and we're going to talk, Paul and I are going to talk about the strategy meeting that we had here for Convention of States in Indiana, our 2022 strategy meeting. I think you're going to find it interesting. We're going to talk about why we do that, what we try to do at a strategy meeting, and most importantly, we'll be talking to you about the new goals that we have set for COS Indiana for 2022. So I think you're going to find that very interesting. Now, in the second segment, this is the information segment. This is where I bring up the PowerPoint and give you some information about what we're doing here in Indiana. Actually, we're going to cover some of this in segment 1, but we'll finish it up in the second segment. We'll talk about upcoming events. Got a few pictures for you of events that have already taken place. And I want to, in this section, since I got the PowerPoint up, I'm going to introduce to you a new contributor that we have that's going to be joining us here on COS Indiana Live. I think you're going to find that very interesting. And of course, then we'll mention to you what's in store for us next Monday evening. So on our broadcast. So that'll be in the information segment. Then the third segment will be any viewer comments. If I've missed any, we'll go over. We'll recognize any viewer comments. If you're viewing tonight, feel free to ask a question, make a comment, and I'll do my best to get it on here. Now, in this fourth segment, this is the contributors segment, and tonight we're going to be focusing on Paul. And Paul does a contributors segment contribution. It's called the Free to Be Free Moment. And I think you're going to find this one very interesting. He did this actually at the strategy meeting that we're going to be talking about in segment 1. And so we're going to, he put it in the form of contributor segment. So I think you're going to find, it's called Let's Roll. So I think you're going to find this very, very interesting. They always are. Final segment, we'll wrap things up tonight. And I'm going to invite you to join Convention of States. I don't know how else to put it. This is where we give you some general information on Convention of States and invite you to join us here in Indiana and work toward making this actually happen. So that's what's on tap for this evening. And with that in mind, let me get to another screen here that I need to look at. And let me bring Paul up here, and we'll say hi and get started in our first segment here. So, hi, Paul.
Hi, Dale. How are you?
Good, good.
Good.
Let me I need to turn the volume up a little bit on you. Can you hear okay?
Yes, I can.
All right. That's better. All right. Well, Paul, we're going to be talking tonight about the strategy meeting that we held on September 18th, I believe it was, wasn't it?
Right.
So this is something we do every year. Paul is I guess the title would be facilitator, wouldn't it?
Right. I'd call it a facilitator.
Okay. Some years ago, when we started this, I decided I've got a business background, and of course, in my business background, we went through strategy meetings, and I can't think if we call them strategy meetings or planning meetings, I guess. And there was generally a business trained person has been through these before, and sometimes has maybe had some training. So I wanted to establish that for us, and so I reached out to the other leadership individuals in our group at that time, and I said, "Has anyone ever conducted any kind of strategy planning process?" And Paul said, "Yep, I've done this many times." And I guess, Paul, this is this something like, I know you're an investment counselor, right?
Right.
Is this a methodology that you use in your business?
Not in my current business, but some past positions. I've done a lot of strategic planning.
Okay. All right. So anyway, Paul has been our facilitator for a few years now in conducting these strategy meetings. Does a great job, and was exactly what I was hoping to find. So that was Paul's role, and like I said, did a very, very, very good job. So first, let's talk, Paul. What is a strategy meeting? What is there a set definition?
I don't know if there's a universal definition, but for our purposes, our strategy meeting is all about looking into the future in the coming year and deciding which goals we're going to focus on and setting some targets for those goals, and then discussing some strategies for meeting those goals.
Okay. That's exactly right. And and one of the things, and we'll be going through these very shortly here, but of course, one of the things that we've always stressed in developing these goals is they must be measurable. There must be some way, right? We have to be able to determine whether we're progressing and achieving the goal, or if we have in fact achieved the goal at the end. So we need to have a tracking mechanism, or the ability to track these goals. Okay. Anything you want to add to that, or?
No, but that is critical to have a definite trackable number for our goal, to have it time constrained, that we have to meet it by a certain amount of time. Right.
Okay. It's so very easy to slip into the mode of I can't think of the proper term, but we can come up with grandiose things that we would like to accomplish, but if you can't measure your progress, then they're really not. They're nice to talk about, nice to say, but if you can't measure your progress, you'll never know whether you have accomplished the goal.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, first of all, let's talk a little bit about our history when it comes to strategy meetings. When was the first one? When was the first one that you attended?
Well, so this was our fourth strategy meeting. So the first one, obviously, then would have been 4 years ago, which would put that at 2018. 2018.
Yeah.
And this was something that you initiated, that we needed to build a strategy for the following year, for 2019. And and now it's become pretty much a standard with each of the states within Convention of States, that annually each state will do a strategy meeting.
Yeah, this is a countrywide. Every state has to go through this process. Doesn't have to be the exact process that we went through, but I think it needs to be something very, very similar. And as you know, some states turn these events into 2-day, 3-day long events, right? We do it in 1 day, and I think while ours is a much more brief venue, it accomplishes what I think the main thing that we set out to accomplish.
Yeah, to be fair, the day we spend in person is pretty intense, but it gets us started and gets some of the main goals nailed down. And then we typically follow up with 1 or 2 Zoom meetings to finalize things.
Right. Okay, well, let's talk about, and we're going to show you some pictures here of our strategy meeting, and some other slides here very shortly. But before we get into those, tell us about the methodology that you used here.
We use a methodology called the 4 Disciplines of Execution, and this comes from a book. One of the principal authors is Sean Covey, the son of Stephen Covey of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People fame. And briefly, what the 4 disciplines are, our first of all is to establish what are known as wildly important goals, or WIGs, as we call them for short. So that, excuse me, that is a key part of our meeting. And then a second step, one of the second disciplines, is to focus on lead measures. So once we set a goal for something, we need to talk about what activities can we do to help us meet that goal, and we're going to track that activity. So, for example, one of our goals is always to increase the number of supporters that we have. And a lead measure for that could be the number of meetings that we do, town halls, those kind of things. So we'll make sure to track those lead measures. Pardon me.
You're getting all choked up on us here.
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
You got some water with you? There you go.
Okay. So we'll focus on these lead measures to make sure we're doing the right things.
Okay.
And then we create a compelling scorecard is number 3. And that's just one way of tracking all of these measures and sharing them with the organization. And we do that monthly at our state team meetings. And then finally is it's called create a cadence of accountability, which has to do with each sub-team having regular meetings to hold ourselves accountable for the activities that we need to complete. So the legislative liaison team will hold regular meetings, the grassroots team, the communication team, and then your executive team. And it's through those regular meetings we make sure that we're staying active and on track. Okay. So that in a nutshell is that 4 disciplines of execution methodology.
All right. Good. Okay. All right, good. Well, then let's look at what we've come up with for our strategy for 2022, and I'm going to bring up our PowerPoint here and kind of go through these just to give everyone a brief synopsis on what we accomplished. Now, this is in fact what the just a few pictures of the meeting and how it looked. There's Paul and I at the podium from time to time. We were also Zooming the meeting. Now, this meeting, this was for leadership individuals. This was not public. This was for leadership individuals in COS Indiana. So we sent out a Zoom invitation, and so that our leadership individuals that could not participate in person were able to view the proceedings via a Zoom connection. And so this and where did we hold this, Paul? I know you just looked that up.
This was at the Maple Grove Church of God in Anderson, Indiana, kind of central in the state, to make it easy for folks to get there and participate. And between in person and the Zoom, we had about 27 people participating in the meeting.
Okay. I might mention that this is a bit of a change. This kind of goes back into the history. First couple years when we did these, we limited the attendance to these strategy meetings. To only certain invited individuals. The past two now, we've opened it up. Zoom has given us that ability to get more people involved. So now it's open to any and all leadership individuals in COS. So anyway, I might mention here this center picture. Let me see if I can get this a little bit. This center picture here. This is John Ackerman. We presented a challenge coin to John. That's a Convention of States award, very, very high award for individual, actually the highest volunteer award Convention of States gives out. So we took the opportunity to present that to John at the strategy meeting.
Yeah, and I'll also note in that picture, the lady on the left,
yes,
Brenda Carlin, who is a past states regional director. I guess it might be accurate to say she's your boss, Dale.
Yeah.
And Brenda lives in Florida, but manages a number of the past states in Convention of States, and she traveled here to Indiana to participate in our meeting. And in addition to John receiving the challenge coin, I can't let this slip without mentioning that you, Dale, received a special leadership award from the team in appreciation of all the work that you've done.
I did.
Convention of States.
I did. I did not include a photo on that, but yes, I did, and took me totally by surprise.
Well, that was the plan.
And that worked very well. Okay. Well, that's kind of that gives you kind of a view of what was transpiring there that day. Now, let's go through some of the things that came out of the meeting. Our vision statement, this has not changed from 2021. Still be the same for 2022. Build a strong, engaged army of self-governing activists. Okay. Our Indiana mission statement for 2021 will be the same for 2022. Restore self-governance by recruiting, training, and deploying citizen activists to engage in all levels of government. That remains the same. Now, won't go into detail on these, but these were the objectives that came out of our strategy meeting for 2021. Correct. And these are the objectives right, Paul, that we've been striving to achieve in 2021.
Right. And if I recall right, we've achieved each of these goals other than 70,000 supporters. We've got a few months left in the year, and we're in the mid 60,000s. So we hope to make a push and get to 70,000 by the end of December.
And we think the president is helping us a great deal.
Yes, we definitely have seen a Biden bump in the number of convention state supporters.
And we kind of giggle at that, but that is very true, folks. Very, very true. When was the key Biden speech, Paul? Was that like early September, something like that?
Yeah, the speech where he announced his intention to use OSHA to mandate employers to have employees vaccinated. That was a Thursday evening. That following day, nationally, we average about 1,000 new supporters a day. The day after that speech, we picked up 20,000 new supporters.
and this was felt countrywide, and we certainly felt it here in Indiana. The month of September turned out to be a record month for us as far as new supporters coming in to commit. So while the 70,000 target number was kind of seeming unreachable, it's no longer it's in the running now. We may get there. We may get there the way things are going here. So these were the objectives that we had set forth for us in 2021. Now, I just want to mention this point that in the strategy meeting, we've designated 2022 as the year of the region captain. That was, let me back up here, and you see one of the objectives for 2021 was 7 region captains in place. Well, I believe we're actually there now. It may be at 8 now that I think about it, and we could very easily have. We'll have that goal accomplished here in 2021. And the region captains, folks, we've got 9 regions right now. That may change because we're looking at realigning some of the region boundaries. So we may end up with more regions in 2022. But we've long been trying to get a region captain in place in each of the 9 regions that we have set up right now, and I think we're almost there. So this is going to become, we designated 2022 as the year of the region captain. These are some of the changes that we've implemented or that are in progress to help our region captains be good region captains and do what we are hoping they will do. They're going to be managers is what they're going to be, and we want them to work at growing that number of district captains. So anything you want to add to this, Paul? I think
no, I think you were very thorough there.
Okay. Well, here's what here are the WIGs that Paul mentioned, the wildly important goals, the goals that we've set forth for 2022. We want to get to 80,000 supporters. Now, folks, just to give you a little perspective on this, I know we're going longer in this segment, but when we changed the state director roles in 2017, our previous state director, Diane Gomez, did a tremendous job here in Indiana and got the resolution passed. Do you know, Paul, I'm putting you on the spot here. Do you know how many supporters we had in the roles in 2017?
No, I'm hoping you do.
Would you believe we had 14,000 supporters?
Wow.
And yes, 14,000. And right now, since 2017, we are now in the 60,000 range, stretching for 70,000 and looking toward 2022 to reach 80,000 supporters. And ladies and gentlemen, this growth has happened countrywide. It's not just Indiana, but I think we're definitely one of the top growth states in the nation. But Convention of States has grown tremendously over the past few years. Anyway, 100% of the regions with an active region captain, 60 district captains. We're currently at about 40. And we want to get to 60 district captains. Identify and support passage of 3 bills in the 2022 legislative session. Now, this is your area, Paul, specifically.
Right.
Any comment you want to make on this one particularly?
Well, these would be 3 bills that are what we call non-COS legislation. Yet we look for legislation that is about self-governance. And we worked on 3 bills this past session in 2021. I got 2 of them passed, 1 did not. So we're looking for 3 more. And in that second week in January, after the legislature comes into session and all the bills are published, we'll scour those and make a selection of 3 to work on during the session to work on getting passed and engaging our grassroots to contact their legislators to support those bills.
Okay. All right. Well, and then the last goal, and this is one that I was a little bit leery of when we first put it together, but after giving it some thought, I got more excited about it, and that's to conduct 250 educational presentations. Education is a big part of Convention of States, and educating people on not only the Constitution and the founding documents, what Article 5 is of the Constitution, what we're trying to accomplish, and educating people on what Convention of States is all about. So this is something that's going to take an effort at tracking, but the more we think about it, this broadcast here tonight is an educational presentation. And so if we do this every week, there's 50 right there, 52, or actually 50, given some holidays in the mix. But town hall meetings, what are some other examples, Paul, that we came up with?
Really any kind of meeting that we're engaging with and educating the public. And I would add a perfect example. I'm going to make a shameless plug here. This Saturday, October 9th, we have a team of district captains who have rented a drive-in movie theater, the 1369 Drive-In in Wabash, Indiana.
1324.
Thank you. 1324 Drive-In in Wabash, Indiana. And it's a free movie entitled In Search of Liberty. It's the plot is one of our founders, Ben Franklin, comes into the future to educate a family on what the Constitution means and what their role is in protecting the Republic. So doors open there at 6. The movie starts at 7:45. Again, a free movie. We'd love to see you there at the 1324 Drive-In in Wabash.
All right, good. And that's a perfect example of an educational presentation. So yes. So 250 of them. That's our goal for 2022. All right, folks. Well, that's what we did at our strategy meeting, and that's what we've accomplished. That's what we set forth for 2022. And I guess, Paul, the way to wrap this up is great expectations for 2022. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Paul, we wondered if we would how long this would take, and it's gone over our 20-minute goal. So, but it was. I hope everyone felt it was good information. This is what we're doing here in Convention of States in Indiana, and we would love to have you join us if you're viewing this tonight. And I'm going to be talking about this very shortly, how you go about doing that. So, Paul, thank you very much for coming on tonight. We're going to be hearing from Paul a little later this evening. This is Paul's night, all right. We've got him coming back in the contributor segment, so we'll look forward to seeing Paul then. So, Paul, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you. All right, Paul Phillips, great. Always enjoy having Paul on. Well, we're gonna jump on over now to the contributor segment, and I wanted to, let me see if I got this right here. No. Where did I get it there? Okay. Well, I don't know what happened to it here. I wanted to show you something that, when we get into the contributors, we're going to jump in here into the contributors segment. And I want to show you Paul's contribution tonight, the free to be free. But I want to mention one thing before I get into that. We've got a new contributor coming up, and I think I'll be able to schedule his first contribution on our broadcast next Monday evening. And we're calling this What's Up, Doc? And this is going to feature our own Dr. Dan Stock. And as you probably know, Dan is very, very big. He is a medical doctor, and he's very big on COVID. And he's had appearances on Tucker Carlson and some other conservative programs. So we decided to make Dan a contributor. So we're going to bring him on next with his debut next Monday on COS Indiana Live. So let me jump on into I tell you what, I've got some more information that I wanted to go over with you on some more information. I jumped over this second segment, so let me go back to the PowerPoint. We've already gone over basically the goals and so forth that we're trying to accomplish that I normally go over in this segment, this second segment. So just very briefly, once again, to remind you of the different resources that we have available to us here. Of course, the main website, conventionofstates.com. That's our national website. Then embedded in the national website is our Indiana webpage. Facebook, our state Facebook page, Convention of States Indiana. YouTube channel, COS Indiana. We also will share recordings of this broadcast on Parler, Rumble, Twitter, LinkedIn, and a few other. Gitter, and that's President Trump's site, and a few other sites. So we try to share the recordings of these broadcasts as much as possible. State newsletter, monthly state newsletter, excellent publication. If you're a supporter in Convention of States here in Indiana and you've opted to receive emails, you will get this via email every month. If you miss it in the email, it'll be posted on our Facebook page, and we're also sharing it to some other platforms. So I encourage you to check into our state newsletter. Very, very, very nice publication. A couple podcasts that we've got, the Free to Be Free podcast, Paul's podcast, and then COS Indiana Live podcast that I mentioned earlier. Those are also available to you. So just some quick upcoming events. Our next roundtable, as I mentioned earlier, will be October 25th. And we're hoping, like I said, to have Mark Meckler on as our guest that evening. Covered Bridge Festival, Park County, Indiana, October 8th. The 1324 Drive-In Theater, this is the one that Paul mentioned, coming up this weekend, October 9th. And we have a gun and knife show where we're going to have an information table at in Sullivan, Indiana, in November. And there's probably some other events that I've missed here, but I'll get caught up on them. Just to give you a few pictures of some things that have been going on. We've been having more regions, district captains gather in regions for breakfast and to fellowship and talk about strategizing what they're trying to do. Here's Region 1. That's up in the northwestern, am I right? Yeah, the northwestern corner of the state. Here in Region 1, Region 3 is where we're located, where Paul and I are located here in the Fort Wayne area, the northeastern part of the state. And then this was our setup at the Riley Children's Hospital benefit that occurred I think it was just this past weekend, where we had an information table set up. Information tables it's a tactic that we use at gun shows, fairs, festivals, where we basically we provide a range of information for people that would be interested in learning more about Convention of States, and a chance to talk to them and get them to sign the petition and become a supporter of Convention of States. So this was just an outstanding display here that our people put on at the Riley Children's Hospital. So just wanted to share those with you. I thought those were very, very good. Now, let's get into the contributors, like I mentioned earlier. And this one is going to be Paul's contribution. When Paul does a contribution for the contributor segment, they're shorter and they're called the free to be free moments. So here's Paul.
Hi, I'm Paul Phillips, and this is the Free to be Free moment. I recently had the opportunity to visit the Flight 93 Memorial in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. I'm sure you all know the story of September 11th, where terrorists crashed airplanes into the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. Flight 93 was the flight that was over the state of Pennsylvania when it was turned towards Washington, D.C. And I was amazed at the memorial. You can go through and see the stories of the brave passengers of that flight, and was amazed to hear their stories. You see, the passengers on Flight 93 had something that the passengers on the other flights didn't, and that is they gained a knowledge of what was going on around them. They were using cell phones or the airphones on the back of the plane seats to communicate with loved ones and others and learn that America was under attack. And with this knowledge, they made a decision to stand up and fight for their country and try to overtake the hijackers. One person who I'm sure you've heard his story is Todd Beamer. He tried to call his wife from one of the airphones in the back of a plane seat, but instead was connected with Lisa Jefferson, a supervisor for customer service. And they talked and exchanged information. Todd gave her some important information about what was going on the flight, and she told him what was happening in New York and Washington, D.C. And Todd told her of the passengers' plans to overpower the hijackers. But what they did first was Todd asked her to pray with him, and they prayed the Lord's Prayer. Then they recited the 23rd Psalm together. Then softly you can hear Todd Beamer say, Help me, God. Help me, Jesus. Then he said, are you guys ready? And then those famous words, let's roll. And the passengers did manage to overtake the hijackers, and in a struggle to gain control of the airplane, the plane crashed in that field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. You see, what these people on Flight 93 did is just remarkable to me. They were ordinary people. They weren't military. They were just plain citizens standing up for their country. The technical term we would use for that is they were the militia. They were a citizenry ready to fight and defend a country which they loved. And they were willing to pay the ultimate price, the ultimate sacrifice for what they did. So what happened on September 11th is, yes, America was under attack, and we were attacked on our own soil. But thanks to the passengers of Flight 93, they delivered America its first victory in response to that attack. So that spirit of Flight 93, ordinary citizens equipped with a knowledge of what was at stake, willing to stand up and protect their country, is a spirit that I admire, and a spirit that I believe is live and well in the Convention of States project. Because see, we're the same thing. We are ordinary citizens who have an understanding of what's at stake and what's going on around us, and we're determined on our own to stand up and protect the country that we love. So how about you? Are you ready to join us? Are you ready? If so, let's roll.
Well, that was really, really touching. Paul, I'm going to put Paul on the spot here because he's still with us tonight. Paul? Oh, well, there you go.
There we go.
I unmute you. All right. Paul, Paul presented this at the strategy meeting and then put it in this podcast form and as a contribution. What inspired you, Paul, to do this particular segment?
Well, my family had made a trip out east to take my daughter to college in Virginia, and I realized that the memorial in Shanksville was right on the way. It wasn't far off the interstate as we drove by. So we made plans to stop there, and we spent some time. And it was seeing the site, hearing the stories there. And for the strategy meeting, the thing I did in addition to that talk was at the memorial, I bought a Flight 93 flag. So it's a U.S. flag.
Yes.
It has the number 93 in the blue background with 50 stars around it. And then it lists the names of each of the passengers. And I took that flag with me to the strategy meeting, and we hung that. And when we did the Pledge of Allegiance, we did the pledge to that flag.
Yes, yeah, we sure did. What does the site look like there in Pennsylvania? What have they constructed a monument of any type, or?
Yeah, there is a monument. There's a visitor center, a gift shop, and the display where you can find the stories of any of the passengers, the crew, even listen to some of the recordings of the phone calls that were made.
Really?
Yeah, and there's an overlook area where you can see the crash site, which the plane hit upside down at an incredible rate of speed and just totally disintegrated. It just created a big crater in the ground. And you can go up near that crash site, and they have a monument to each of the passengers.
Really?
So
really wow.
it's I don't know how much it's visited, probably not as much as Ground Zero in New York or the Pentagon Memorial, which I've been to all three sites now. Shanksville was the last one. Although when I visited Ground Zero, it's when it was still a hole in the ground before the building of the Freedom Tower.
Yeah. Well, those other two sites would be places where a lot of people are attracted to anyway. So,
Right.
But anyway, well, okay. Well, thank you very much, Paul, for doing that.
Sure.
Hope everyone enjoyed it. And thanks for coming back on like this. This was not planned, but I just thought I would bring you back on. See, that'll teach you to not hang around.
I should sign off right away, right?
All right. Thanks, Paul. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Glad to have Paul's insights here. Well, let's get into the final segment here, which is the invitation segment. And I want to share another video with you, and then I'll come back on and wrap things up. So before I forget, I want to just mention now that our next broadcast, which will be next Monday evening, the 11th, we're going to have Debbie Stewart, the young lady I call a super volunteer. Debbie, we missed her in September because she got sick, but she's up and at 'em now. So she's coming on next Monday evening, and she's going to give us a civics lesson. So this ought to be very, very good, I'm sure. I always enjoy having Debbie come on. So let me bring up this last video that I want to show you, and then we'll wrap things up this evening. Okay, here we go.
After the last election, liberty-minded Americans faced a difficult question. What do we do now? Our cities have been ravaged by riots. Calls from the left to defund the police continue unabated, while violent crime and murder rates skyrocket across the country. Joe Biden controls the White House. Sort of. Really, we all know that Joe Biden's no longer in control of his faculties, and others behind the scenes actually control the agenda. Socialists control Congress. Leftists control the deep state. Marxists control our country's schools and universities, and the tech oligarchs are their willing censors and watchful spies. So who has a plan to stop them? Certainly, we're not seeing courage from Capitol Hill to stand up to the Democrats and their woke mob. The good news is that we do have a plan to stop them. This is the only plan that bypasses Biden and Congress to save the republic. And this plan brings the fight to where we, the people, have a political advantage. While many Americans were disappointed in the outcome of this election at the presidential level, liberty-minded state legislators quietly swept to enormous victories. Now's the time to use this to our advantage and draw the fight for our liberties out of the swamp and into the battlefield where we, the people, have the advantage, in the states. This plan to call a convention of states can propose constitutional amendments that prohibit Congress from adding justices to the Supreme Court or states to the Union. This plan can secure our Second Amendment rights. It can eliminate the woke Department of Education, and it can stop the federal government from taking over the state election process. You need to know that this plan's underway already, and it's working. Join 5 million supporters and citizen activists, along with my friends Mark Levin, Rand Paul, Ben Shapiro, Glenn Beck, Mike Huckabee, Sean Hannity, and many, many more.
The Convention of States, ultimately, fundamentally, the way to secure our republic.
Washington is so broken it may not be fixable, that the only way you'll truly get reform is by having a convention where people decide, we need to have term limits, or we have to have a balanced budget amendment.
I have endorsed it, and I believe very strongly that it's the only way we're ever going to get a balanced budget amendment. It's the only way we're ever going to be able to bring some real reform to our system.
I mean, I've been a longtime supporter of the Convention of States and to reestablish the sort of guiding principles of the Constitution.
You have a chance of really saving the republic. I am all in. ConventionofStates.com.
Now I'm joining Convention of States to make this happen. So join me in this constitutional revolution at ConventionofStates.com. They have a petition. Go sign it today.
Support the only plan that bypasses Biden and Congress to save the republic. Sign the petition at ConventionofStates.com.
Right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little video. It really kind of sums up what we're all about. We're trying to hold a convention of states according to Article 5 of the Constitution. Article 5 describes the way the Constitution can be amended, and it describes two methods to amend the Constitution. One is through Congress, like the Constitution's been amended to date. But there's a second method, and it's called the Convention of States. And it requires 34 states, 34 state legislatures to call this convention for the purpose of proposing amendments, okay? We've got 15 states that have joined in this effort to call a convention. Indiana is one of those states. But we need to get to 34. And we need your help. I encourage you to consider joining us here in Indiana in the Convention of States Indiana family. Now, I just want to put one thing up here. Here's how you go about doing this. You go to that national website, conventionofstates.com. At the top of the website, first of all, when you're at that website, sign up to be a supporter. Provide us all your information. Sign the petition. That makes you a supporter. That's very, very important. That's an important step right there, folks. Now, if you're interested in getting more involved in Convention of States, maybe taking on some type of a leadership role, then at the top of the website, click on the menu selection, Take Action. That'll take you to another page. Click on Become a Leader and scroll down and look at the different volunteer leadership positions that we have in Convention of States. And if one of them's of interest to you, open it up, read about it. If you're very interested, go ahead and make application. You're not obligated in any way. You don't have to worry about that. But by making application, then one of us will be looking at this then and see your name and contact you and talk to you further about that particular position. So that's how, first of all, that's how you become a supporter. And then if you want to get more involved, these are the steps that you need to take to look at the different positions that we have available that you can get involved with. And some of them require very little time. Others are going to require more time. You're the only one that knows how much time you have that you would like to devote to Convention of States. So that's how you go about getting involved with us. And I just want to leave you with this thought, that when you join us, when you join Convention of States, you're going to be part of history. You're going to make history, because this has never been done before, folks. This has never been done. A Convention of States for the purpose of proposing amendments to the Constitution. Proposing amendments now. So you're going to be making history. And I hope you decide that you want to join us. We would love to have you. So with that, I'm going to wrap things up this evening. Once again, join us next Monday evening, October 11th. As I mentioned, Super Volunteer Debbie Stewart will be on to give us a civics lesson. As far as the contributors, I'm going to have, what's up, Doc? I'm going to have Dr. Dan Stock come in and give us his first contribution as a contributor. Then we'll get John Ackerman back on the contributor schedule here very soon. So in the meantime, I want to thank you for the support that you're giving us, and we would love to have you get more involved and join us here in Convention of States, Indiana. With that, I'm going to say good night. Have a good night, everyone.